Talking Tuesday. It's what we do. We just sit around, smoke a pound, and talk about what we do in the cannabis world. We gon' let you know how the business go on a brand new show. Talking Tuesday. Show you how to do it right.
Yo. Welcome to Talking Tuesday. You know, we here. First of all, let me get down to the real cannabis players, talking real cannabis information, right? Real cannabis news. I got Marco and Ruvi to my right.
Yeah.
I got Keith to my left, and you know your boy here. And we gonna kick it off and get it live. First of all, I gotta say Happy New Year, because it's been since the New Year since we saw everyone, or we were back here live in the studio.
Yep.
And I just want to tell you, we're live here in the studio in Boyle Heights, 1601 South Soto Street, Los Angeles, California. We are here filming and taping live. So just want to give a shout out to that.
Yeah.
Also, you know, there are a lot of things that have been happening and in the community. This is episode 20. And we titling this Rising from the Ashes, a community united Token Tuesday broadcast is what we doing here tonight. There's been a lot of fires going on, a lot of devastation within the within our community and community surrounding us. We've had friends, family members, loved ones affected by this fire. You know, so we want to just open up and say that our hearts go out to everyone who has lost something in the fire, a business, a home, you know, things that can't be replaced. We are thankful for life because that's something you cannot replace. You can replace stuff and things, but you can't replace your life, you know. And so we are thankful for those that still have life, but we also grieve for you because you lost some things, you know, and that's sad.
Yeah.
It's real sad.
Big time.
So just to give everybody an update, this fire started on January 7th, and today is January 16th. So for 9 days, this fire has been raging. The Palace Day fire, I think as of today, is about 24% contained, and then the Ethan fire is about 33% contained. So far, it has burnt up the Palace Day fire 23,000 acres, and the Eden fire 7,000 acres, and over 10,000 structures totally has been lost. And as Virgil mentioned, as of today, they found 24 people that have perished from this fire, but they have cadaver dogs that they're going through the wreckage right now, and that number is continuing to go up.
Yeah, and that's just to add to that. As of right now, the containment on the Eaton fire is 55%.
Okay, so it has went up. Okay,
it's gone up. Yeah.
So that's factual information right now live. Like I said, real cannabis players talking about real issues, not just cannabis issues, but as y'all know, if y'all been tuning in to our podcast, we talk about issues that affect everyone, all of us, communities, no matter where you come from. As they say, it's not where you from, it's where you at. Right. Right now we are here, and we are where it's at, and we've all been affected in some form or fashion. My dad has a house. He passed away. His ex-wife lives in that house now. And my brothers and sisters grew up in that house on Altadena Drive. We were blessed and fortunate for that house not to get burned down. It's like literally 5 houses down from where the school is. That school me and my brother used to play at when we were kids. So very familiar with that community. But there were a whole lot of people that my brother and them grew up with there whose homes didn't make it.
Right.
You have, and I don't know if you guys watched on Spectrum, you had a mother who lost her home. Her daughter had a home right
There's
around
like
the
a family
corner
that had
who
7
lost her home.
properties and they all lost it.
Yeah, the grandmother who had a home in the vicinity who lost that home.
Mm-hmm.
The sad part about it is that who did they have to lean on?
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? When you lose something, at least you could go to your mama or your daddy or your sister or your they all took a loss.
Yeah.
And that's just really heartbreaking.
And
What I do like to
Mhm.
highlight though is that people didn't really understand Altadena until this devastation.
Yep.
That Altadena was one of the most prolific African American communities in Southern California.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give you guys a for instance. If anybody on the west side knows Ladera Heights, that was like the Black Beverly Hills. If you knew Baldwin Hills, that was like the Black Beverly Hills. If you knew the Dons, that was like the Black Beverly Hills.
Mhm.
So when we talk about Altadena, that was like the Black Beverly Hills
Mhm.
for up in the Pasadena and Altadena area.
Yep.
My dad bought the house back in the
60s.
the 60s, I think late 60s, early 70s. The interesting part about that is that the reason why a lot of black people moved out there is because they weren't redlining
Mm-hmm.
in Altadena.
Yeah.
They were redlining in other areas.
Mm-hmm.
So I had pulled up, Marco, if you could pull up the definition so that we could explain to people what redlining is. I had the definition pulled up on my phone, but Ben got my phone, so I ain't. Okay, hold on.
So red line. Let me see. So red line. Refuse a loan or insurance to someone because they live in an area deemed to be a poor financial risk. Banks have red line loans to buyers.
And so that definition is skewed. So let me just tell you that right now. We know we can't always believe Webster because Webster is a liar too. I'm just going to tell you that straight out. Because first of all, excuse me, and I'm going to read redlining from this definition that I have. Redlining is a discriminatory practice that prevents people of color from accessing financial services such as mortgages, insurance, and loans.
Yep.
It was widespread practice in the United States, especially against African American.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they had a mapping, so bankers created a map that shaded neighborhoods based on their racial makeup and property value, denial of services. Neighborhoods with a higher percentage of people of color were deemed risky and denied services. Institutionalization.
Mm-hmm.
The Federal Housing Administration, that's the FHA. The FHA sponsored redlining from the 1930s to the 1960s. The impact, redlining prevented black households from owning homes for decades. They was keeping you from ownership. And you wonder why we don't have generational wealth?
Mm-hmm.
Well, generational wealth because you
couldn't buy
took
shit.
generational wealth from us before we could even achieve it, right?
Now, here's the second piece. Once they created those red line districts, guess where they went in and over policed? Those same communities. So it was a double whammy for us. Not only did they hold the value of our homes, saying that it was more crime in those communities, because think about it, that's how your zip code is connected to your insurance.
Yep.
Exactly.
But then they turned around and over policed those communities. So the stop and frisk and any type of tactic to literally create a living hell for these people, this is what was done here in America.
Yep. Exactly. And that's the sad part about it. Then you look at the impacts, and it says it created generations of injustice with white Americans building equity that could be passed down to their children, while black Americans could not. Mm-hmm. It has been linked to ongoing racialized neighborhoods poverty. It has a long-term health and educational consequence for families in redlining communities.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that has been going on for quite some time. we fail to address or talk about stuff like that exists within our community. And, we talk about why we can't get, because we never wanted a handout.
Mm-hmm.
We just wanted a hand up,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that we wanted the same opportunity that was presented to us. Presented to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me a fair playing field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I could show you what I could do. Even though we were given sometimes and I know if we were ever really given a fair playing field. We were giving a playing field.
Don't mean it was fair. Though.
Don't mean it was fair.
Mm-hmm.
And we had to, my mom used to always tell me, you got to do twice as much as those folks in order just to be halfway accepted.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So this just is just some of the things that we are understanding and knowing that has been brought out in this since the fires about Altadena, the redlining, and just really getting a true understanding. Then you had a lot of prolific people that lived in that community. They did a tribute to the man that passed away in his home. That passed away in his home, and his last name was Nickerson. And he was the man who's either he himself or his dad was the one who built Nickerson Gardens. Oh, wow. You see what I'm saying? Wow. So Nickerson Gardens was created by a black man, and it wasn't created as a project like it has been throughout the years. Mm-hmm. It was created, if you do the research, something other than projects, but basically like a housing community. Okay. Not a project, which is what it ended up. We ended up now like knowing it as today. Yeah. Because projects is just that. Yeah. It's a project. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? And so we've accepted that label to these housing units that existed. When you think about Ujima Village, right? Ujima Village was created, remember, back in the day for the Olympic people that came in the Olympics when Olympics was in LA. Mm-hmm. That's where they stayed, in Ujima Village. Mm-hmm. But a lot of people don't really know the history behind that. And it didn't end up turning into some projects, right, so to speak, after the Olympics. And as time passed, it became one of those communities, and now Ujima Village. And if you look up the word Ujima, which is one of the principles in Kwanzaa, right, it gives you an understanding what that truly was supposed to mean back then, right? So, just a lot of history we throw out there.
Well, another part of the history you want to throw out there, that Altadena was one of those places of great migration from people from the South to the North. Yeah. So you had a lot of people from Louisiana, you had a lot of people from Mississippi and some of your southern states that found this, town, Altadena, in California as a refuge. So it was probably one of the first middle-class communities for blacks where, like Virgil just said, because they didn't redline, now I could get like-minded people together and build a community where now we can actually have something. Mm-hmm. So these fires are not only erasing heirlooms, they're erasing people's inheritance.
They're also erasing a lot of culture.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of Afro-Mexicans as well, and it shows a unity that we've had for decades and decades, so it's I don't know, it's too coincidental. And I don't know if you guys have heard of the link where they're talking about smart cities, right, coming to LA for the Olympics. Yes. And which are going to take place, in these areas. So there's a lot of things that, now that things are kind of not settling because the fires are still going. Right. But we're starting to see a lot more of a clear picture of of why this happened, because it's a catastrophe that I don't think was natural.
On the way over here, I just, on Instagram, an ad popped up. I don't know who it is, IJS Law or whatever, but they're already filing lawsuits against Edison because that's who they're going after.
and LADWP because they
Yeah.
said some of those fire hydrants didn't have water in.
Yeah.
Didn't
They were
have
empty.
water.
Yeah.
So
Altadena's going the Eaton fire is targeting Edison.
exactly.
Right. Okay.
As they should,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you know, you think about it. How can a fire department or a fire truck pull up there and the firemen hop out, hook their hose up, turn it on, and nothing comes out?
Yeah.
Or the water pressure is so low it won't even reach the house they trying to shoot at? Because you got to think a lot of them houses had deep properties.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like, excuse me, you think about it. Like my dad's house, he had a driveway. You had to drive all the way up just to get to the house.
Mhm.
And this front yard, we used to play football on it. It had a flagpole in a big ass flagpole in the front yard that a big flag was, flying in front of his house because the yard was so spacious. We could damn near play a football game on it. So you think about the distance from the street to get to that house, and if there's no water pressure, it's not even reaching the front of that house.
Mm-mm.
Right.
It ain't even reaching halfway across the yard, the front yard.
The front yard.
And a lot of those homes in Altadena had those spacious yards
Yeah.
where not all of those houses were sitting on the street, on the front,
On the
like you
front.
do in a regular neighborhood where you could walk up and the house ain't but about 4 or 5 feet away
Mhm.
or, 7 feet away. No, these houses were, you know what I'm saying, a good maybe 100 feet away,
Yeah.
some even more than that, depending on how deep their property was.
Yeah.
So
Well, there's a I don't I need to look for it and I'll share it with you. But they're talking about how this could have been created by like a laser, right?
Oh, yeah.
A weapon, and there's a patent out on it. And I'll share that with you. And it's a patent that the U.S. government owns that talks about a weapon that's like a laser, and it's designed to create things like that.
yeah,
Well,
it's
So
crazy.
it would
because
have
I
been
heard
really-
about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would
I
have been
heard
really
little ripples
easy
of that.
because for the last 3 years they didn't clear that brush out there. So literally, it's out in nowhere. If you hit that, that's enough accelerant to basically just catch everything else.
I'm
on.
gonna add to the conspiracy theory. I like conspiracy theories because it doesn't mean it's not true. It's just a theory.
It's
We don't know the
theory.
truth
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna add to the conspiracy theory. Same thing like weather control.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If
sure.
supposedly in Dubai they could start rain whenever they want to,
Yeah.
how come we didn't do that?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? How come we
do.
couldn't make a
We-
phone
and
call
we own machines.
and be
I
like,
think
yo,
we
you
own
know what?
three.
Like let it rain.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
You know,
Mhm.
like just to add to it. You know, just to add to the
because the satellites can affect that.
and
you
Dubai
know?
they do it. That's what they say. At least again, I'm just
And if
adding to the
Dubai can
conspiracy
do
theory.
it, we've already done it. You can best believe that.
You
So-
see?
So this is one thing that I wanted to add about
The food for thought.
about the Altadena community. It says that Altadena economically empowered many families who have passed down their homes to children and grandchildren. Today,
Mhm.
the city's black home rate is 81.5%. That's nearly double the national rate. With these recent wildfires in Los Angeles, the historical black city has been reduced to ashes, displacing families who've lost everything. And the Altadena Cemetery, where science fiction novelist Octavia Butler is buried, caught fire. Butler wrote about the 2025 wildfires caused by the climate change in her popular book, Parabola of the Sower. This, exactly what Ruby just said, this devastation has erased not only homes, but culture and history.
Exactly.
And
Legacy.
one of the things that we want to talk about today on this episode is not only how do we hold that space for those victims, but what do we as a cannabis community do to help them out?
Yeah.
I
One thing
think
I will
that
add to that from people that I've known from like diasporas, right? And I tell this to my friends only because again I was separated. I didn't come too much from the black community, so I was like in Burbank and shit like that.
yeah,
But I saw people who weren't from there recreate communities.
absolutely.
I saw people. The community is in the heart.
Absolutely.
I saw people that the community is in the heart. Palestine is done. Hamas is done. That shit is done. Israel's taken over, but those people will become a community somewhere else.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Because community's in the heart. It's not on the block.
Yeah.
It's not in the building. You know what I mean?
It's in the people.
It's in the
because
people.
Let me tell you something, and I agree with you, Marco, because those people can migrate. And you think about how many times a massive group of people have migrated.
Yeah.
let's just look at it. When I was growing up as a kid, right? And I can remember the block I lived on, right? When I was a kid. Growing up, we had on our block. I could vividly like close my eyes and remember who lived on each side of the block, right? And at the end, on the two corner houses, a white family lived here and a white family lived there, right? As you come down, it's all black, right? Then right next door to us was a Latino family. Then you go all the way to the other end of the block, all black. Then you go on the other side, and it was all black all the way down. One Latino when I was a kid. Now, what's getting ready to blow your mind? Prior to us moving there was all white.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was all white prior to us moving there.
Yeah.
And then as the blacks moved in, it became all black, two white families who stayed, kept their property and lived there until they passed away. Don't remember what their kids did with that home. And I'm still thinking, I think maybe a black family moved into that one corner house. Not sure about the other corner house. The Latino family stayed there, had kids, and the kids grew up, right? Now, what's going to blow your mind? You know what city that was?
Compton?
Linwood.
Oh, Linwood. Yeah, because I've heard a story about
Linwood.
Compton similar, but yeah, Linwood.
Now, you heard what I said on my block.
Yeah.
All blacks.
All blacks, yeah.
I could take you to the next block. All blacks. One Latino family,
Yeah.
Frank and his sister.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about a people migrating.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
multiple
Mhm.
times.
So
Yes.
so you think about that. Southgate was all white. And I'm
Yeah.
talking about racist white.
Yes.
Not just white, racist white.
Yeah.
Downey was racist white.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now look at how the demographics have now changed.
Yeah.
Because you have a migration of people
Mhm.
Yeah.
coming from one place to the next,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And then
Yes.
now you're having communities change and look different. So I totally agree with what you're saying. It just reminds me when the true children of Israel
Yeah.
coming out of Egypt,
Yeah.
Mhm.
those
a good
are the
point.
true Israelites.
Yeah.
Those are the true children of Israel. Those are the true Hebrews.
Yes.
You understand me?
Mhm.
So when you talk about Bible, because Israel was created back in
Yeah. And they're
1942.
Eastern European. They're
Yeah.
they're Moldovans,
They came
Ukrainians.
They
they're all
fled
that.
from
the Soviet.
from Germany because Hitler
Mhm.
had put them in concentration camps.
Yeah. They came from all that.
They
Eastern
wouldn't
Europe.
Germany ain't the Middle East.
No. Mm-mm.
Germany ain't the Gaza Strip.
No.
Germany ain't got no history to do with nothing going on
No.
over there in Palestine or any of those countries in that region.
Yeah, absolutely.
1942 was when those people, as I like to call them, the so-called Jews, because let's keep it real,
Mhm.
they are the so-called Jews. They're not the original and real Jews. And if anybody does the history, we know that.
It ain't racist.
It's no
it ain't-
mystery,
it
and
ain't
it's not about-
anti-Semitic, It ain't
yeah.
nothing. It's just keeping it 100.
It's not about being
It's not about being
anti-Semitic.
better or worse.
It's not
it
about
is
being
what it
racist. Let's just talk facts being
Yeah.
facts,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So when you talk about facts being facts, if you colonized and created back in 1942, that means you wasn't there
No.
prior to that.
But then I guess my question, doesn't that bring into question the Balfour letter in 1917 where they purchased the land and then it was actually implemented in 42? Because if you go back, like he would literally say, hey, listen, I want to purchase this land right here. And at the time they had no use for it. So once he, in the Balfour Declaration, once he purchased the land, now he went to the Britain government and said, hey, you gotta, this is my land. I want to go forward with this. I guess my question is, like, does that give them a right to the land because it was purchased prior to them actually coming into the land? Like somebody.
Okay, so that's a very valid point that you have there. But I'm gonna do what a lot of people do, and I'm gonna pose a question with a question.
Okay.
Does England have the right to possess the African artifacts, and they stole them because back in that time, stealing was supposedly legal.
Right.
So they stole all of those African artifacts
Mhm.
and took them and have them in their museum. Does it make it right?
Well, no, that's definitely theft in that. But this was a purchase.
Hold on, I understand. But it was how to purchase. See, it's not what happened, it's how it happened.
Some purchases are still steals.
That's what my point exactly. So that's what I'm saying. It wasn't what happened, it's how it happened, right? Because you can buy something from somebody, right?
And jerk them.
And come on now.
Well,
And you
I know
can
that
do it
shit
under
was-
a certain pretense. And basically what you did
I know
is
the
screwed
worth
them
more than you
over.
do.
Well, wait a minute.
Type.
So that's the real question I'm trying to get to, because if you look at the Gaza Strip right now today, is shrinking more and more.
Yeah.
And what they literally saying is, like, the parts of Israel where oil and stuff has been found, like, they just basically recapturing that so they can have the value.
You know, I'll tell you one thing. I like the game of Risk. I'm a huge fan of the game of Risk, and I think Risks really simplifies just the way the world works. It's about expansion, domination,
Yeah,
taking
come on
over.
now.
I mean, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, it's
Absolutely.
about what side are you on?
Come on.
Are you on the winning side or are you on the losing side? And if you're on the losing side, you're going to bitch and complain.
Yeah.
And if you're on the winning side, you don't really give a fuck about the people that are bitching and complaining.
Exactly.
So
Wait a minute.
personally, I think life is just, you can't dissect it so much because it is what it is. We want to do that now as the U.S. We want Greenland. I'm Panamanian. They want the Panama Canal. I mean, goddamn, it is what it is. Yeah, I'm Panamanian. I'm like, take that shit.
But wait
You
a
know what I'm
minute,
saying? And I'm
Marco,
just saying,
what
we all
about
have
annexing Canada? Because think about
yeah,
it.
we want Canada to be the 51st state. Yeah.
Right. But now
So-
think about it. Where are we going to get the lumber at to rebuild these houses?
Once we take
Canada is our biggest.
Yeah, but once we own it,
exporter.
we'll just take
no.
it.
But you got to keep in mind, and I hear what you're saying, but I travel up north a lot, and they got mills up there.
Yeah.
And they got a hell of a lot of trees and a hell of a lot of wood.
Yeah.
So right now we can, with all the wood that I seen off that 101 freeway,
Yeah.
as I'm leaving Southern Humboldt, and I got to go do business up in Northern Humboldt to pay my fees on my land.
Yeah.
I'm passing by. I'm talking about miles and miles of stacked up wood that have come from that lumber mill that's off that coast of the 101.
If I ain't mistaken, most of that lumber is coming from Canada too. Canada is our
No, that
biggest
lumber
exporter.
is produced right here, and those are lumber mills that are right there.
Mhm.
That are, you got to keep in mind how many trees that grow up in northern Cal.
Mhm.
Like I'm talking about, I mean, unnumberable amount of trees that you can think of that are out there. So I'm not saying that some of that wood doesn't come from Canada, but they have their own mills right there.
You know,
You know what I'm
we're
saying?
we're
That
just,
can-
you know how we work. We have oil too, but we just don't play with our own
Right.
shit. That's
We-
it.
that's
You know
our
what I'm saying?
reserve.
It's like, you know what I mean?
We'd
I
rather
want my
go-
shit
yeah,
to
we'd
still
rather
look
use
nice.
up somebody
The
else's
store,
oil
just
and keep
chop
our
your
shit in
down.
reserve.
You know what I'm saying?
We need
Yeah.
to use
Like-
your shit now and
Yeah.
then leave mine.
Yeah, that's just how we think. That's how we move
And-
out here. You know what I'm
and-
saying?
And they put the arm on them to say, if you don't give us
Yeah.
that oil and give us that crude, you know what I'm saying, then we gonna cut some shit off.
Cut
And they
some
be
shit
like,
off.
oh, here.
Problem.
And
There
then
you
tap
go.
into our old shit just because
Right.
we can.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So I agree with you, Keith. This is a time for the cannabis community to probably come together and stand up and to be able to do something. The most unfortunate part about cannabis being as a business being that community that would love to give and do, we just don't have it. And that's the sad part about it. Now, it's not that we can't raise it. We can't go out and do,
Yeah.
you know, raise it from
Car
the
wash.
communities that we're around and stuff. But I always dreamed that cannabis shouldn't have to go out and raise money, that we should already have it in our coffers or, you know, in our reserve to be able to kick that out.
But our
You
silent
understand
partner
what I'm
keep
just
taking
like
it from us.
just like the NFL or just like the NBA or just like any of the other Wonder why these stores are calling me. NBA or whatever. So you know what I'm saying?
And I think that will change when banking changes. But then I think for everyone to have like a pool of money,
Hello.
there's gonna have to be an association.
All right.
Well, here's my
You
reason.
know what I mean? Someone that overlooks all of us.
Like I agree with
yeah,
you on
if
the
you
on the
look at their phone,
association,
just
but
look at
right
it and
now
see,
it's
that
an
means it
emergency.
came through, 'cause
So
I'm
my
about
thing is, as the
taking
cannabis
this
community,
podcast.
we come into the governor and say, "Hey, look, we know we make the money because we send in so much to you in the city. Can you cut back on what you taking from us so we can help these communities? These people have lost everything. So we like with this cannabis industry, this mechanism that we have, how can we serve these communities? So
Let me
what
ask a
out of
question.
box thinking can we come up with? Either reduce our taxes, either allow us to, help these communities out through our products and our services. Like,
Mhm.
what is available to us?
Yeah.
Because as an industry, if we can't serve the people that's indulging from us,
Mhm.
what good are we really?
Yeah, what good are we as a resource? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Do we know how they're spending the money that they're getting from the cannabis community, the taxes?
Well, they have a chart, excuse me, that says how the money is being spent, but I don't think anybody has really investigated that chart in its most
Because
recent
it's a
form.
lot of money that they have.
Oh,
that
of
they
course.
Oh
receive
yeah,
from us
billions
Of
of
that
dollars.
would be very beneficial right now.
And I think what we need to do is do a FOIA Act and ask,
Mhm.
Freedom of Information
Yeah,
Act.
I agree.
And that's, in case you guys don't know the Freedom of Information Act, you can submit that to any of your government entities, and whatever information that you're requesting that is supposed to be available to the public, like where your taxes is going. There is not 1 cent of your taxes that you pay that you shouldn't be able to ask where it's going. And they have the obligation, the responsibility, and the duty as a public official or a public entity representing that tax collecting body. They have the duty and obligation to give you that information for your act.
That's a
So,
good question.
great
'Cause
question.
it would really come in better. Like right now, we saw that the community came together. Who's the one that
Absolutely.
helped these victims right away? Were communities. A lot of cannabis communities also came together.
Absolutely.
Set up right away. They had shelters. People were donating. It got to
Mhm.
the point where some places had to turn away the donations and send them another way because they
Mhm.
had so much.
Absolutely.
Where we
Yeah.
should expect our government to step in that way because they have all that tax money.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yeah.
But I think the biggest thing is when you get community coming together, you get results, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The problem with our government is that if I ask you for money and you're the government, you got to go to this committee, to that committee, and y'all have to meet. And then this person has to sign off on it, and this person has to agree with it, and that person has to say yes to it too before I can even get $1
And
Yes,
then
yes.
issued
and
to
then-
me. So bottom line is too much bullshit and red
Yeah.
tape before anything can get done.
Yeah.
But when you have people in the community,
Right.
we can come and put that in your hand.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
right
something you
away.
can use right then and there.
Which it's needed.
Not
right
sitting
away.
here waiting
Yeah.
for the government to
Yeah.
blow
Mhm.
smoke up our ass. Because when the shit went down, you come on, man. If y'all didn't see those press conferences and all of that politicking and spinning
Finger
and
pointing
ducking,
and- yeah.
you thought it would, man. I could have swore, hey y'all, I thought it was a dodgeball game going on because
It's
they
kind
was
of
doing this shit.
embarrassing.
Every
Yeah.
question that was
It's
thrown at them,
embarrassing.
they
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
doing this.
Yeah,
They
did
was
you see the
bobbing and
governor
weaving
when the
and
lady
ducking.
confronted him? Like, how is it possible we don't have
He
water
faked
in
the
there?
call.
Well, I need to talk to.
He faked the call.
Yeah.
He said that he was on the phone with the president.
Mhm.
And
the
she was
woman,
like, let
she's
me
like,
And she
"Let me
confronted
hear
him about it. She
exactly."
wanted to know
And
where the
then
water
he's like,
is.
"No, he's not
Yeah.
answering." And
Yeah.
he looked really stupid.
he,
Yeah.
he did.
But one good point that you guys are making, like government has to stop taking so much to us to the point where we can't support one another.
I
Absolutely.
think that's what they want though, because
I
No,
do.
that's absolutely what they want.
are powerful when we're divided.
Yes.
when we don't realize how united we've been from the get-go.
You know,
But
Yes.
we're allowing all that negativity and all that brainwashing that they keep doing. That's what we're allowing to do, you
To
know. But
create a
what I
wedge.
see, what happened with the fires, is that we do still have that unity because we demonstrated right now. People came together from
Absolutely.
everywhere.
and
So
like
imagine
shout
if we
out
keep doing that.
and like shout out to Dana White just real quick because he said something attached to that. He said the only thing you want from the government is for them to stay out of your business.
Exactly.
You should never
Yes.
want anything
Yes.
from the government
Yeah.
besides
They came
them
into
staying out
cannabis,
of
it got
your
worse.
business.
Yeah,
So-
because it always comes
You
with
understand what I'm saying?
attachments, right?
Something.
Yeah.
It comes with I need to know what you doing, where you doing, how you
How you
doing,
doing it?
why you doing
And
it.
you should do it this
It-
way.
Yeah, and then this is how you got to do it in order for us to do this for you, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So many stipulations on a person who has been devastated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then now they got to go here. They already screwed up, in the mind, thinking, and so on, because they're just exhausted from what they went through, a trauma and tragedy,
Yes.
mentally, physically,
Yes.
spiritually, just wasted
beat
and
it down.
drained.
Yeah.
And then they got to go in front of a government for them to say, we need you to do this, like this, like this. Like, I ain't got shit.
Yeah.
Or some people
How
were
are you
getting
just,
denied.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
it's like, come on now. So for
It's very
people
true.
to just and you have all the people like Snoop went out there and
Mhm.
had his crew out there doing things, getting on the ground floor.
Yeah.
So it's not all of this red tape in the middle. What do you need? Okay, here you go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What do you need?
Yeah.
Okay, here you go. Because what them people went through, man, they shouldn't be going through all that crap
Mhm.
Not
just to
during
get
this
what
time.
they need to
Mhm.
at least give some comfort and peace for that moment
Yeah.
as they go through this rebuilding
Big time.
process.
Big time.
So-
And a
so-
disclaimer
so-
for some of y'all, because some of y'all are grimy out there. This isn't an opportunity for you to give away your dirty underwear and all that stuff to these people, man. You know what I'm saying? Because that's
Yeah.
something that you
True,
have to
yeah.
know these centers
Yeah.
are also dealing with. They're dealing
Yeah.
with people who are now treating this devastation as a way to just get rid of their junk.
Yeah.
You know what I
they
mean?
have-
That to the
they're
point where they're not
hiring-
even being hygienic about it.
Yeah, there's people having to sort things out.
You know?
because of
Like,
how-
come on, y'all.
Well, here's one thing that you guys said that I think is really important. I just want you to remember one thing. We are the government.
Yes.
The people are the government. It's when the people lose their voice that the government becomes the bigger voice.
Yes.
Exactly.
In this situation, where we got to get clarity at is back to what Ruvi said. If we don't come together now and save our historical and culture
Yeah.
that has been established, it's going to be wiped away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As these communities are rebuilt, I just read Altadena had an 81% Black home ownership. If you
Yeah,
look
yeah.
at nationally, I think Blacks are the lowest home ownership of any other ethnicity.
Mhm.
So we have to make sure that we become a community that has a voice that can fight for those people.
Yes.
That's the separation between the government. When we come together and say, you know what, we're going to be the voice for them right there, and we're not going to allow that to happen.
Mhm.
Government to me has become too big,
Mhm.
and it has, like, just think about the home prices of California, period. So if my parents left me a home and I'm a freelance artist, how do I even get a loan to even rebuild this home?
Yeah.
Last year, you remember the insurance company started pulling out.
Yeah.
So,
California.
Yes.
Mhm.
So some of these cities are left in a situation where one day they had a $1.6 million home,
Yeah.
and now it's just ashes.
Yeah.
So we have to fight for them. Go ahead, Mark.
And what I see that I've always told myself, because I love politics and all that stuff, you know what I mean, and game of risk and all this. One thing I will predict that I will say, the Soviet Union was torn apart. I feel like the world's agenda, and it's slowly creeping up, has been to divide us,
Yeah.
to not make
Yeah.
us the United States of America. Each state will become its own country at some point. No different than how the Soviet Union used to be under one,
Mhm.
and everyone else. We demolished everyone's Republic of China.
Mhm.
We demolished words that created one body overlooking numerous states.
Mhm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? The only reason we're the United States, if you notice, in our time that being alive right now, you have never seen the government challenged by individual states as much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Now you see far more individual states pushing the government and challenging the
Mhm.
government, because now the government isn't just the all say. Each
Mhm.
state now feels like the same thing with the border in
Yeah,
Texas
absolutely.
and Abbott or whatever. Abbott put out
Yeah.
his own border patrol people.
That's Texas history,
That's
though.
Texas history.
Texas history was always, they were the last one to come into
Yeah.
the Union.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's why they called the Lone Star State.
Yeah.
The Lone Star State, because they were the lone star
Yep.
that stayed out of the
United
States Union.
You see what
right?
I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they still have that history of the way they govern things and feel about being a part of the bullshit that
Yeah.
goes on, right? Arizona is another state that kind of swings to their own tune.
Yep.
That's why they
Georgia,
don't
yeah.
have daylight savings and all that old
Yeah.
crap.
Yeah.
And you got to keep in mind, they was the last one to recognize Martin Luther King's birthday. Arizona wasn't trying to do that,
Mhm.
right? So you have that. We could look at history, Marco, like you said. Look at Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Why does Africa have borders? For what? If I'm an African in Northern Africa and I'm an African in Southern Africa, why do I need a visa to go to another part of the same continent,
Right.
of the same country?
Right.
I don't need a
It's not the
visa.
same country. It's 54 countries in that continent.
I understand that.
Right. But we'd
that's
be
the
considered
problem.
50
That's what I'm
countries
saying.
in
That's
this
the
continent.
problem. I don't need a visa
what
to
I'm-
go to Arizona.
Right. We would be
I
50
don't need a
countries
visa to
in
go
this
to New
continent.
York.
100.
So why
I
should
got
I
you.
need a visa to go from Zambia to Zimbabwe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I need a visa for go to California to New York.
exactly. So
Yeah,
this
point.
is the divide and conquer. If we don't look at Africa as what divide and conquer really looked like,
Mhm.
then y'all slipping on your pimping,
Mhm.
and you need to pay attention to your history, because that's a perfect example of what divide and conquer looks
Yep.
like. And
So-
the United States should never want to mimic that divide and conquer
Yep.
like that, because then the
Because
United
it'll be the
States is-
divided states of
Yeah.
America.
it will be doomed. I can tell you that. The
Yeah.
United States will be doomed the same way that Africa for so many years has been under the grip of so many different
French,
other
English,
countries.
Spain, yeah.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? But now you have what I was talking about today is you have this new awakening. People are not ignorant anymore.
No.
People are
Yeah.
are seeing information for themselves.
Mhm.
Now, if I want to know what's going on in Africa, all I got to do is pull up, and there are people that are on the ground floor of Africa
Oh, yeah.
speaking on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand
And
what
you
I'm
know
saying?
another thing, they putting the colonizers out of Africa. They
Absolutely.
like, you're not doing
Yeah, a lot of the
nothing but
French
using
military is
and depleting.
exiting.
You got to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I forgot who, but two countries just like kicked out the French military.
You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
you see what they tried to do to and what's the brother in that one country in Africa? They tried to pay his military
For a
$6
coup?
million to turn on him, and they didn't take the money.
Good.
You see what I'm saying? So they let them know, man, that little $6 million don't mean nothing to us. We loyal to, and I'm trying to think of his
I just can't
name
think of
right
his name.
now, but it's an African country, and I'm gonna think of it in a minute. But they trying to do the same
I
thing
think
they
it's the
did
Congo.
to Omar Gaddafi, right?
That's why my
Mhm.
man
Because you know why they killed Gaddafi? Because he was going to unite the African
and their
money.
currency.
He wanted
was,
a United
yeah.
States of Africa.
Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to see a United States of
Mhm.
Africa, because if you see a United States of Africa,
With the
then
resources they
Africans
have.
are going to
Yeah.
start saying, you know what? The U.S. backs their dollar up by what? By
our
gold.
shit, our gold,
Right.
our
Wait a minute.
diamond, our,
This gold
Our
is
gold and
over here. This
diamonds.
gold ain't in the
and they
U.S.
got oil
so,
too,
yeah,
Nigeria
as
or
a matter
something
of fact,
like that.
tell you what, our gold is our gold now. You can't have that.
Mhm.
That will crush the dollar.
That will crush it.
That will crush the yen.
Mhm.
That will crush the British pound. You
Well,
understand what I'm
it's-
saying?
Well, just think about who occupying Africa right now. Asians, Britain. So everyone that it would crush, they got their hand in there because they want to prevent that
They
from
want
happening.
they want to keep control
Yeah.
of what they stole. They want to keep control of what they stole.
Yeah.
And you got to know that is the name of the game for people like that.
Yeah.
Just like those British museums
Yeah.
want to keep control of what they stole.
Yep.
And, you know they stole it.
Yeah.
Why don't you just give it back to the people you stole it from?
Yep. Yeah. Because if it was the United States of Africa, then all military budget would be one, and they would
Right.
have a mighty military.
Oh,
Come
yeah.
It's
on,
hard.
man.
It's easier to suppress military if it was just by states.
Exactly.
If California only had its own military, that's cool.
And try to buy
Now,
out all
all
of
of
Africa.
us.
It's gonna take more than
It takes
$6
more than
million
that because
to do
military
that.
budget's probably the most important budget in any country.
Exactly.
So Marco,
Exactly.
you had mentioned this earlier about the implosion of the United States of America.
Mhm.
And this is definitely something that we're dealing with right now. But if you think about why has America imploded, it's literally because of that embracing of the racism. Because think about it, the delusion that I'm somehow superior to this human being right here to the point where they should praise me like a god is blasphemy within itself. But then for them to subject this other human being to the point where you're 2/3 of a human being, it literally done brought America to the point where you have police officers killing themselves from the things that they've done to other people. It was a nurse, I can't forget what state, that was breaking little baby, black babies' arms and stuff. This is just hatred that she has towards black people. But that within itself is making America implode because it's like the lie within itself has started to eat people away. Like, how can you be superior to something to the point where you want to like literally erase it off the earth, but yet this thing still thrives? It, like, think about it, 400 years of everything that went on and we still competing.
Yeah.
So that very mindset is what's causing America to implode.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's why it takes us back to, they keep trying to divide us, brown and black people, because we are the majority. If you really look at it, you know.
This is true.
And they've done both of us wrong in so many ways. They stole from us in so many ways. And if we go back and we realize how united we truly are, we could make some really great changes, you know. We need to start showing up. It goes back to showing up. A lot of the times when these bills are getting passed, you know, people don't show up.
Yeah.
People just allow it to happen, and then
Yeah.
they're just going to go to social media and they complain. But we've been there, and it's like 10 of us there. And how can we demand change when we're not even showing them, you know?
Yeah.
But see, that's that voice to the community that I'm telling you about. Like, if you want to separate yourself from the government, you have to be a community of people that are so clear with what your request is that, like a whining baby, I'm not gonna.
Or
give
like
up until I
Muslims.
get it.
Yeah.
That's why I remember seeing somebody on TV many years ago when they were going after 9/11 people. Something was going on. And a Muslim person said something very serious. And I took that shit to heart. And that's why a lot of people are sometimes afraid of the Muslim community coming to their countries, is because at the end of the day, nothing supersedes Islam. No government, no nothing.
Right.
Islam is number one, no matter where they go. I don't care if I'm in China. I don't care where I'm at. Your government does not supersede my religion. And that's what makes them move the way that they move. So it comes down to something. That's why I respected the Italian mafia back in the day. Like families. You have to, that's why families have always been so important. And that's why they try to demolish families, is because only families can oppose families.
Right.
We as a government like to tell people you don't have to have kids. You don't have to reproduce if you don't want to. We love to just push anti-family agendas because the government, who is ran by families, is afraid of families that can come up and challenge theirs.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's it right there.
Yeah.
So the country I was talking about was it's Burkina Faso. So Burkina Faso right now has a project involved designing, construction, and operating 18 megawatt solar power plant. 18 megawatt solar power plant. And so what there is, this project stands as one of the first independent power producers in Burkina Faso and has secured both senior and subordinate loans along with a 25-year power purchase agreement. A lot is going on in these African countries where a lot of these brothers are starting to say, how do we become self-sufficient? How do we become self-reliant
Mhm.
and not needing to rely on other countries that are not a part of Africa to do this and do that? And I'm not saying you don't need allies. As a country, you always need allies.
Mhm.
It's good to have allies. It's a positive thing to reach across the waters and be able to shake hands with an ally
Mhm.
and be able to do trade and business. But it has to be done under the pretense that both parties can benefit in a positive way, not a raping and pillage
Mhm.
relationship.
Yeah.
And Africa has been that one on the wrong side of that raping and pillaging
Mhm.
for multiple decades, centuries even.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? And so I think what, like I said, is there's awakening, not just awakening here in the
It's the
U.S.
world.
It's
Yeah.
awakening throughout the world where people are saying, how do we become self-sufficient? How do we grow our own food? How do we generate our own power? How do we have our own water? How do we do things for ourselves that we don't have to rely on people who only want to
Control.
control and take advantage of us
Mhm.
Yeah.
and not treat us as an equal?
And
Mhm.
use us as profit. I feel like that they use us as profit.
Yeah.
They don't want us healthy. That's why they want to break us up. They want to break culture because another thing that culture brings are home remedies.
Yeah.
Our grandmothers, like my grandmother gave me so many home remedies, as I know your grandmothers did,
Absolutely.
and they don't want that because we don't need their pharmaceuticals
No.
when we rely on things that were created by God.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then so there's a lot of medicine out there. You
Mhm.
know, that's why they was on Dr. Sabi's head, because he was bringing that natural medicine
Mm-hmm.
that cured cancer.
Mm-hmm.
He actually had to sit in front of the federal government and talk about how it cured cancer. Well, curing cancer? Well, we can't let you do that. You know how much money we make off of cancer medication?
Mm-hmm.
Come on, man. You start curing some shit, we making trillions upon trillions of dollars. You know what you getting ready to take away from us, man. You better be quiet, sit down, and shut up somewhere.
Mhm.
So the thing is that these powers to be,
Well, let's name them FDA.
well,
Come on now, like if you look at what the Food and Drug Administration, they telling you that cannabis is somehow bad because this is Schedule 1,
Mhm.
ain't killed not one person.
not one.
That's why they don't want to
But yet
deschedule it.
fentanyl and some of these other things
Are
that got
Schedule 2.
massive
Mm-hmm.
body counts, they legal.
And they
time.
in the Schedule 2 category.
Big
Yeah.
time. And
How
I
are
think,
they in the Schedule 2 category and cannabis is in the Schedule 1 category?
Yeah.
That's why they
Way
don't want to
above
release
that.
the research because if they release the real information, people are gonna see that cannabis is a part of us, and they're gonna demand descheduling, not rescheduling. We need
Yeah.
it descheduled,
and you know, I think we're just too conditioned these days. I think this is even when we're talking about family and stuff, it's so important that the household should supersede government. In
Yeah.
my household, as long as I don't get caught and we don't get caught for some shit, there's so many rules in this world for me to go to jail.
Mhm.
But if I don't ever get caught, I'm not going to jail. But my mentality still is not to listen to the government. Does that make any sense? Meaning,
Yeah,
like
community should
unfortunately, we're just all
yes.
too conditioned to hear that outside noise. When at the end of the day, FDA, I never even think about that entity. I know they're there, but I don't listen or care what they approve or don't approve. I go with what my tradition. I go with
Yeah.
I go with what was taught to me.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
respect my family, my heritage, my
Right.
bloodline
Home
so
remedies,
much
yep.
more than any government that the only thing I ever think about is what was passed on to me through the words of those before me, my predecessors.
Yeah.
My predecessor was not just a government. My predecessor was not just a land. My
Mhm.
predecessor are the humans that were in my bloodline that have taught and learned things. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm out this world or out of my mind,
No,
but I don't
you
pay
on point.
attention to that so much because I'm so in tune to my bloodline.
But
Yeah.
you know what, Marco? I like what you say because that just brought back to me. First of all, you got to think about it. Let's just say I'm the mayor, right? I don't know what's going on in every community. You see what I'm saying? I don't know what this part needs, what that part needs, what's going on here, what's going on there. We put too much on these officials,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't know nothing about what's going on, right? They live on their block. Do
Mm-hmm.
you know what's going on right now in the streets of South Central LA or the east side
But
of
I think
LA or
that's
Watts or Linwood or Southgate or Compton or Long Beach? You have no clue.
No clue.
I
You
think
see
they
what I'm
purposely
saying?
don't want to
And
know.
well, some people don't want to know
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to have to deal with a
Mm-hmm.
problem that
Yep.
they may have to be faced to fix,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
So it's better not to know.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to, play the Scooby Doo. You know what I'm saying? And play the Scooby Doo
Yeah.
and say, "Well, you don't know." But the thing is that we rely too much on them to do things for us. And I like what you guys were saying. We have to bring it back to the community
Yeah.
because every block knows what every block needs. And if we communicate within block to block to block, and we have those meetings like we used to have at the local park or at the local school bleachers in the gym and discuss the things going on within our community when things are bad, when things are good, when we want to do something. I remember there were block parties that people used to have. They shut the blocks off and they have a party.
Yep.
They still do that in certain communities.
I think that's why there was this research data that they show, and they see the transition. How before we would spend, number one was family, then it was friends, and going to school, work. The last one was internet. Well, now internet is number one,
It's
and
number
it has
one.
superseded family. It has superseded friendships, work. So that just shows that they're using technology, I think, to divide and keep us divided, because now people are too busy on social media or
But it's
their
up to us.
technology.
But it's up to us to stop that. You know what? Let
Yeah.
me tell you the biggest thing. I remember when I used to, and I think back in the day, because I'm 57, so I'm old enough to know what real back in the day looked like,
Mhm.
right? I remember when I used to go somewhere on a Sunday, I could get there quick and fast. Why? Because there were no cars on the street, because people were at home, with spending time with their families, like you
Mhm.
said. People were cooking meals to sit down and eat that evening. The kids would come over, and that was family time.
Mhm.
Now you have a very empty dining room, and some people don't even have tables in their
Some
dining
people don't
room.
eat together.
You look at
Yeah.
McDonald's on a Sunday from morning to evening, and that line is wrapped around the corner.
Yeah.
In-N-Out Burger and any other burger stand or taco stand
Mhm.
or any place that's a fast food joint. People are lined up. Nobody stays at home and cooks
But
like
that's
that
why a lot of
anymore.
people are sick too, because we are what we eat. And
Processed food.
if you eat your family's homemade meal, we're not gonna go buy that junk food. But if they divide the family, now you don't have home cooked meals anymore. Now you're gonna go buy their junk food.
Processed food. Just
Yeah.
like when you think about when they started feeding the kids Similac.
Yeah.
That was supposed to replace the mom's
Breast milk.
breast milk.
Impossible.
And
si-
now they're being sued.
yeah, because you see what Similac has done. Now people make that joke. Oh, he a Similac baby.
Yeah.
Autism
But
and
there's a
all
lot
kinds
of
stuff that you
seriousness
get
to
from
that, because so many kids were. What they also did is they took housewives, right? So now you go to the doctor and you have, the mother loses the bond with the baby, because the first one that touches the baby now is the doctor. Some mothers don't get to hold the baby right away for whatever reason, and that's critical timing. So now you have a baby that won't latch on. Another thing that people don't really know is that mothers, we produce a lot of cannabinoids in our breast milk, and that has a lot to do with the lactation. So a lot of mothers struggle with their kids latching on. It has to do with your endocannabinoid system not being active. So for them to not educate us, divide us, they're getting their way, So
Well, that's another way that a mom could help like a child even mature their immune system, because through the breast milk, it's like the mom already has a mature immune system. She's gonna basically share that with the child,
Mhm.
and now he's already like put ahead of stuff that he's already immune to
Mhm.
because the mom was immune to it.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it supports our endocannabinoid system, which is why I vouch for cannabis so much, because God created us with this system that from birth, from when you're being created, it plays a huge role in how we are developing, you know.
Yeah.
So we need to just demand more knowledge and more answers.
And the reason I say stick to your family traditions and stuff is because at the end of the day, we're all mammals. We're just animals. We're no different than a bear, a tiger, a fucking fish, or whatever. So as you notice, animals, they all develop a different appetite for something, a different digestive way of diet. Like a catfish can eat junk that another
Mhm.
fish cannot eat.
Mhm.
A tilapia can eat shit that another fish cannot
Did
eat.
you see-
Humans, we are all through our bloodline
Mhm.
already in tune to
Mhm.
what we're supposed to be fed.
Yeah. Did
You know what I
see
mean?
that-
Even if it's not what another person should eat.
Did you see they were trying to feed a bear a McDonald's burger and he would not eat it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He
And
wouldn't
we're
touch-
still eating McDonald's.
he
Mhm.
eat
You
garbage,
know,
but
the
wouldn't eat
bear
McDonald's.
I
wouldn't
don't.
take it.
Yeah.
I
I ain't
don't
gonna
mess
lie.
with
I was gonna
McDonald's.
say I don't, but I get that fish fillet, man. I get
Well,
the fillet
you
of
know
fish,
what?
man.
Burger
I
I
get the
don't
fillet
touch.
of
Fish
The
fillet,
fillet.
I would. Hey, I ain't gonna lie.
Hey, look,
Hey,
the
I'll
fillet
do a
of
fish.
fish.
I'll do a
God
fish
damn it.
fillet. Yeah, I will do that. You know what?
Ain't no
What I
real
wanna-
fish, but it tastes good as
What I
hell.
also want to bring into play is, and that start next time. We're gonna bring out fun facts. Everybody's gonna bring out a fun fact regarding cannabis.
Yeah.
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 Fun facts. So I'm gonna have a fun fact moment before we close out. Cannabis. And this is a fun fact that a lot of people won't, the industry won't correct. OG.
Mm.
OG Kush.
Sativa.
It's a sativa. It's not
Sativa.
indica.
Let it be
y'all.
known, man. Stop
Fun
saying
fact.
indica.
Everything
It
is.
ain't
It's a
a
sativa.
indica, it's a sativa.
It's
When
definitely
you
a
talk
sativa.
about that chronic, that crondon,
that
that
old school.
bomb
Mhm.
diggity bay, that is a sativa.
That's sativa.
So all y'all out there talking about, man, I just smoked that indo, that indica.
Yeah.
No, you was
No.
smoking sativa.
Sativa.
Fun fact.
That's a fun fact.
Fun fact.
That's a fun fact. Can I add one little fun fact that has to do with the fires and cannabis? Because
Yeah.
I told this to my wife's friend's neighbor in Santa Cruz. I think there's a black gentleman who was doing this too, but they're just not allowing him to. I don't know who it was, black, white, whatever. But hemp, building your home with hemp,
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
it's fire resistant.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's good. That
Did you
should
Like-
see
be
like
over.
it's-
that was in Pasadena.
Yeah, instead of using cinder
Yeah.
blocks,
Yeah.
you actually build your home and
It's
insulate it.
also-
Yeah.
Insulate it with hemp.
Hemp.
Yeah, he had a
It's
metal roof
also-
and the fibers were from, and it
Yep.
didn't burn.
Yep,
It's
insulate
also
it with hemp, dude, and it's fire resistant.
antimicrobial,
Mhm.
and it's sturdier against earthquakes.
See,
Which
So wait
is
a minute.
So
they
that's a
don't
fun
want
fact
us to
right
do
there.
that. Yeah.
So wait a minute, I'm gonna piggyback on yours. So the Chernobyl with a nuclear reactor, that's how they cleaned up the soil is with hemp.
with hemp.
Like basically to help replenish it, because whenever it's something nuclear, it's 100 years before it starts to regenerate.
Mhm.
I think they did that in less than 20 years using hemp.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because hemp extracts all of the toxins from the ground.
Mhm.
And that's the same thing with that dude. They did a special on him. I think he was in Italy or somewhere
Mhm.
where he was growing, he was raising, was it goats or something like that?
Mhm.
He was raising some type of cattle. Anyway, he started growing hemp when they allowed him to grow hemp. And then he saw, and they did a research that it was extracting all the toxins
Mhm.
from
It does.
the ground.
Yeah.
And they said, well, are you going to go back to raising cattle? He was like, I don't think so. I'll keep a few cattle over here, but this hemp thing
This
is
hemp,
doing,
this
yeah.
is where
yeah.
it's at.
You
They
know
wanna
what's
ban
another
it.
fun
Now they
fact?
want to hit you with the ban.
You know what's another fun fact? In Japan, they used hemp to clear the Fukushima radiation off.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
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 You know,
in
so
Chernobyl and in
yeah,
Japan.
yeah. so
that is. One last fun fact
Another
before
fun
we
fact.
close out is the United States of America Declaration of Independence was written on hemp
Mhm.
Hemp
paper.
paper. Come on
And
now,
And the
y'all.
flag
Come on
Yes.
now.
was sewn out of
Yeah.
hemp material.
yes.
That's why it was able to last for
Yeah.
so long.
Yeah.
All right, so my fun fact is I finally got life insurance, and I had to give up cannabis smoking to get life insurance. this is something that we need to address, because even when it goes to Schedule 3,
Yeah.
there are some people saying that smoking, so a smoking policy versus a non-smoking policy is a difference of thousands of dollars. So we have to make sure that when it's rescheduled, that smoking cannabis is not deterring people from being able to get insurance, because even though it says a non-smoker's account, they consider cannabis smoke as just like tobacco. So this is something that, it's a fact, but it's something that we need to fight.
Although cannabis don't have no ammonia in it, like
No nicotine, no tar,
And
no
then to
none of
add
that.
to the life insurance, that's why you should get it at a very, very, very early age
Age.
and never not stop paying it.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
then none of that matters.
Yeah.
Because you lock it in at 20, you didn't really have that history,
Mm-hmm.
and you just keep paying, don't ever stop paying,
Absolutely.
and all the other all that shit don't matter. You're locked in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The sad part about it is we don't really value insurance in the communities that we come from. Insurance is not valued because we weren't taught about insurance.
Mhm.
We weren't taught about the insurance instrument, right?
Right.
Because the insurance is an instrument.
Yes, sir.
And you can take that instrument and leverage that instrument. You could take that instrument and fill that instrument up to then be able to take whatever you put into
In,
that
out,
instrument.
as equity.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
And leverage it to do things with.
Yes.
People have stuffed millions of dollars into an insurance policy because that's another way you can put money into something and pull it out tax free.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
Even
but-
life
and
insurance.
For every dollar you put into insurance plan, you can utilize that dollar 6 times.
See what I'm saying?
So whether I take a dollar and put in, and I say, hey,
I need
wanna-
$6.
I want to borrow from this so I can secure this home. And then once I, do whatever I'm gonna do at the home, I'll pay the policy back. I'm only paying it at a 2% rate because I'm borrowing my own money.
Your own bread.
Mhm.
So as far as a tool to build wealth, for $12,000, we're saying like $1,000 a month, you can pretty much be your own bank and hold your own cash.
Mhm.
After 9 to 12 years, it'll self-fund where it's gonna pay that $12,000 for you.
Yeah.
And now at that point, you utilizing your money and doing whatever you want.
Mhm.
If I know that I'm only gonna use $60,000 a year, that's my budget. I borrow that $60,000 out, and then over the year, as I deplete this money, I'm making more money back.
Yes.
But again, I'm not paying interest like it's a credit card.
Right. And
And then
then
break that credit card cycle.
yeah,
just
and then what
having
people have to
insurance.
know is that you could play with multiple policies.
Yeah.
It's not just one. If you don't want to touch one for whatever reason, leave it alone then. But you can have more. No one limits you to how many life insurance policies you can have.
Yeah,
You
you
can have
always
20
want to
if you
have
want to.
one that's liquid, and then you want to have one that's building you future income. So it's some type of annuity or index that literally 15, 20 years from now it's going to reverse back to me all the money that I put into it.
Yeah, and this conversation is so important to our community of people.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Because this is the conversation that makes the others wealthy.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying? Because
This created generational
yeah, and that's
wealth.
what creates it. I'm not saying all of us are not educated, and that's not insulting our entire community. There's a lot of us that are savvy and know these things.
Mhm.
But as a general rule of thumb,
Yes.
it's a general rule of thumb in other communities.
Yes.
Like that's just what you're supposed
It's
to
automatic. And you have parents that will buy their kids that policy and then say, your policy now, you can take it over now that you're old enough to take it over. This is what I was paying on it. This is how much is in it. And it's almost like giving your child, almost like giving them money in a sense,
Mhm.
or giving them something.
It's giving them freedom.
And like I say, yeah, an instrument to be able to do things and maneuver with, navigate through life with,
Yeah.
like on
Yeah.
a financial aspect.
Yeah.
And so, yes, it's very important. But, we're going to wrap this up, and we definitely appreciate everybody tuning in.
Don't forget to tell them about the sweatshirts.
Go and talk to them about it then.
Okay, so the one thing today's show is dedicated to the Palace Days and Eating Fires. We discussed as a panel, what can we do to kind of help those communities out? So we have Bel Air Cannabis, and then what Virgil is doing is he's going to do homage to the Altadena community as far as those historical Black. So we have one of his designers drawing out some art to kind of, just really celebrate that community. And what we want to do is with those 2 sweaters, we're gonna set up a website so you can go on there. For every one of those items that's bought, we're donating $1 to that community, and we're doing it through our churches. These people are going to need help for 2 to 3 years from now. So we're starting this initiative now. And what we're asking, this is a call to action to every cannabis smoker that's out there. Let's stand up and show that pot is just not a recreational thing, but it's something that can actually help communities rebuild. And we're saying from the ashes to the rebuild of these communities.
Yeah, definitely. Like, once again, our heart goes out to everyone that was devastated by all of the fires that we had here in Southern California. It's nothing like we seen before. I mean, communities turned into rubble and turned into ashes. It was just sad to see.
Yep.
And, if you guys actually haven't even drove there, you need to probably just drive there. Very humbling experience.
Big time.
Take your kids so they can kind of see, just get a understanding of the devastation that has happened to a whole community. Like, pretty much all of Altadena is gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's very sad. So, as we wrap it up, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Come by, grab some of our product. 7415 Crenshaw Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90043. 654 North Manhattan Place, Los Angeles, California, 90004. And 1601 South Soto Street, Los Angeles, California, 90023. That's where we're at right now, filming live. And we appreciate y'all tuning in to Token Tuesday. And we are.
That digital address.
And the digital address is www.californiacannabiswc.com, and also CC Token Tuesday. You can catch us on all streaming channels. All streaming channels. Tune in to us. Hit that subscribe button at the bottom. Subscribe. Send comments. Anything. We are here for you.
Yes.
Peace out.
Peace.
Token Tuesday, it's what we do. We just sit around, smoke a pound, and talk about what we do in the cannabis world. We gon' let you know how the business go on a brand new show. Token Tuesday, show you how to do it right. You need